Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know. First, AI's 10 gigawatt power crisis sparks an efficiency war as China's low-cost models challenge Silicon Valley's bigger is better playbook. We'll analyze why this energy crisis is a turning point and how China's efficient open-source models could disrupt global AI competition. Second, Apple is forced to allow third-party app stores in Brazil, but a new 5% Core Technology Commission creates an illusion of choice. So we'll discuss why this regulatory defeat matters and what it means for Apple's global app store dominance and developer ecosystems. Third, TikTok Shop's UK success explodes, selling 27 items per second, but a 9% commission fee creates a race to the bottom for businesses. We'll explore how this shoppertainment model could transform retail and why its economic success in the UK acts as a shield against the US ban. Fourth, fleet tech firm Motive files for IPO despite a $62.7 million quarterly loss and a legal war with rival Samsara betting on a life-saving AI mission. This discussion will reveal how its cash-burning data strategy connects to the AI hype cycle and what it means for the future of unprofitable tech IPOs. Fifth, Samsung shatters gaming records with a 1040Hz monitor and resurrects 3D with a glasses-free eye-tracking 6K display. In this episode, we'll break down these technical breakthroughs and what they signal for the future of hyper-specialized, high-end PC gaming hardware. A single AI project is being built to consume as much power as the entire city of New York during a summer heat wave. That project, from OpenAI and NVIDIA, is designed for at least 10 gigawatts of data centers, an amount of energy equivalent to the annual power consumption of 8 million US households. This is the new reality of the AI gold rush, an industry that poured a record-shattering $61 billion into data center deals in 2025 alone. A while back, we analysed how this land grab for electrons pushed companies like Google to stop just signing power purchase agreements and instead buy the energy developer outright Alphabet's acquisition of Intersect to vertically integrate power with data centers. The point wasn't just cost, it was speed, because in some regions, a grid interconnect alone can take close to a decade. But as tech giants race to build this power-hungry infrastructure on an already strained electric grid, a former Facebook executive just dropped a bombshell quote that changes the entire game. So what does this actually look like on the ground? To meet this incredible demand, utility companies are in a mad scramble. Take Virginia, for example, where data centers now consume about 60% of all the electricity used by households in the entire state. The local utility, Dominion Energy, has seen its contracted power for data centers nearly double in just the last 6 months and is now planning to spend over $50 billion on new infrastructure. The direct consequence is that those costs are being passed on. Residents in some areas are already facing monthly rate hikes to pay for this AI-driven power surge. And as we noted before, this is why some firms are trying to own the power stack end-to-end, but even that doesn't shield communities from near-term bill shock. Chris Kelly, the former chief privacy officer, said, "We run our brains on 20 watts. We don't need gigawatt power centers to reason." It's a powerful line, and it points to a deeper, more technical reality. The human brain is a marvel of efficiency because it's a biological, event-driven network. Our neurons only fire when they have new information to process. Current AI models running on silicon chips are fundamentally different and far less efficient. And as we mentioned a while back, the constraints aren't just electricity, cooling, water, and even copper. For next-gen, liquid-cooled builds are becoming real bottlenecks, so efficiency isn't a lab curiosity, it's a supply chain strategy. However, this has inspired a whole new field called neuromorphic computing, which designs chips that actually try to mimic the brain's architecture. Intel's Loihi 2 chip, for example, uses so-called spiking neural networks that can be up to 20 times faster than a human brain while consuming a fraction of the power of today's systems. This is the true long-term path to efficiency. This isn't just a clever line, it's the new battleground for AI. Kelly predicts the next winners won't be the biggest spenders, but the most efficient. We previously highlighted the first phase of the arms race securing power and accelerating build-outs. The next phase is about using far less of it, and the first shots in this new war are already being fired. A Chinese company called DeepSeek recently launched a powerful AI model, claiming it cost under $6 million to build, a fraction of what its US competitors are spending. Now, get this. This isn't magic. It's smart engineering. DeepSeek achieved this by using a mixture of experts architecture. Think of it like a team of specialists. Instead of the entire massive model working on every single task, it only activates the small relevant group of experts needed. This, combined with using less precise numbers for its calculations, slashed its training cost and energy use. They're proving you can get performance that rivals the biggest models for a tiny fraction of the cost, creating a good enough AI that's perfect for most business needs. This comes just as the sale of high-end NVIDIA chips to China has been approved, potentially fueling a wave of low-cost open source competition. What's crucial to grasp here is the strategic shift that's underway. While the US has focused on building massive, expensive, closed-source models, China is aggressively pushing these cheaper open-source alternatives, and it's working. Research shows that Chinese open-source models went from just over 1% of the global market to nearly 30% in just a few months. The performance gap is closing fast, making these efficient models incredibly attractive, especially for developing nations. And as we discussed earlier, regions facing higher energy costs and regulatory friction are at a disadvantage. Efficiency-first models blunt that disadvantage. The narrative that bigger is better is collapsing under the weight of its own energy bill. A while back, we said the war for AI wasn't just about algorithms, it was about energy infrastructure. The latest development is that cost and efficiency are becoming the decisive weapons. As the industry grapples with an energy crisis of its own making, the future of AI will be defined by efficiency, opening the door for a new set of global players to challenge Silicon Valley's dominance. Speaking of global players facing new challenges, a seemingly impossible situation just became a reality for Apple in Brazil. Its walled garden has another major crack. Of course, this isn't happening in a vacuum. This is part of a global domino effect. We saw a very similar and even bigger change in the European Union with their Digital Markets Act, or DMA. We previously analysed how Japan went down a similar path and how Apple responded with what many called malicious compliance. The latest development is that Brazil is getting to a comparable outcome, not through a new law, but via settlement. That law forced Apple, as a designated gatekeeper, to open up its ecosystem. So what's happening in Brazil is another major government telling Apple that its absolute control is over. This isn't a friendly gesture. It's the result of a settlement with the country's competition watchdog, CADE, ending a legal battle that started back in 2022. The regulator is forcing Apple to not only allow competing app stores, but also to let developers use their own external payment systems. And the clock is ticking. Apple has just 105 days to implement these changes. If they fail to comply, they face a massive fine of 150 million Brazilian reais, which is about 27 million US dollars. But that's not the whole picture. Apple has already laid out its plan to keep collecting money. Even for apps on alternative stores, Apple will charge a 5% core technology commission. And for apps that direct users to an external website for payment, Apple will take a 15% cut. If that sounds familiar, it is when we covered Japan and the EU a while back. Apple floated fees as high as 21% for alternative processors. The numbers are different here, but the playbook is the same. And this is where the situation takes a more complex turn. As we discussed a while back, this is the appearance of openness wrapped in financial strings. Critics are calling this the illusion of choice. The argument is that these fees are strategically designed to make it economically unviable for developers to use these new alternative stores. By charging a core technology commission and still taking a significant cut from external payments, Apple creates a powerful financial disincentive. It's a way of complying with the letter of the law while potentially undermining its spirit by making the alternatives too expensive to be truly competitive. This all leads to the most incendiary part of the story. Apple's official statement: the company went on the record claiming that while complying with these demands, the changes will open new privacy and security risks to users. They argue they've worked to maintain protections, but the message is clear. They believe the regulator's decision makes iPhones in Brazil less safe. Now, to be fair, their concerns aren't entirely baseless. The digital environment in Brazil has very specific threats. And unlike our earlier conversations about Japan or the EU, the local risk profile here really is different. Research shows that digital banking fraud is a massive problem there, with over 70% of losses happening through their popular instant payment system, Pix, often after a phone is stolen. Sophisticated banking Trojans are also a major issue. So opening the system up in this specific environment does present unique challenges. But here's what's truly fascinating. A few days ago, we mentioned Apple's use of scary-looking warning messages and even that bouncer-at-the-door notarization approach in other regions. Brazil's regulator seems to have anticipated this exact argument. As part of the ruling, they are reportedly mandating that Apple use neutral wording for any security warnings. The regulator's move is significant because it's a direct shot against what designers call scare screens pop-ups that use alarming language to frighten users away from making a choice. The company doesn't the regulator is trying to prevent Apple from crying wolf too loudly, which can lead to warning fatigue, where users get so used to scary alerts that they start ignoring all of them, even the important ones. This is the latest in a series of regulatory defeats for the company, following similar outcomes in Europe and Japan. We called it an iOS splinternet a while back. The iPhone in Tokyo already doesn't match the one in New York, and Brazil adds another layer to that fragmentation. The global battle over the App Store is escalating, and national governments are starting to win. Regulators are now successfully challenging Apple's absolute control over its ecosystem, forcing a fundamental shift in how one of the world's most powerful companies does business. The end result is a growing regulatory patchwork, where Apple can no longer enforce one uniform policy across the globe, creating a far more complex and fragmented world for developers and users alike. While Apple is fighting to protect its established ecosystem, another tech giant is rapidly building a new one from the ground up. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on TikTok. On its biggest sales day ever in the UK, its shop sold 27 items every single second. The social media site, once famous for viral dances, has officially become an e-commerce juggernaut. But how did this happen so fast? You see, TikTok isn't just another online store. It's pioneered something experts are calling shoppertainment. Unlike Amazon, where you go with a specific item in mind that's called intent-based shopping, TikTok's model is all about discovery and impulse. The platform's powerful algorithm serves you an endless stream of engaging videos, and when you see something you love, you can buy it instantly. It's fundamentally rewiring how we shop, blending entertainment directly with commerce. It's not just a fad. Over 200,000 small and medium-sized UK businesses have piled onto the platform, and they're not alone. Major old-school retailers like Marks and Spencer, Samsung, and even the supermarket Sainsbury's are now selling their products directly inside the app. The numbers are staggering. During the Black Friday and Cyber Monday period, sales surged by 50% compared to last year. In one recent live stream, M&S pulled in 260,000 viewers selling an item every 30 seconds. A single sponsored video for Sainsbury's Christmas pajamas generated 6.6 million views and sold out completely in under a week. One marketing director says the secret is that the platform plays directly into impulse buying behavior, with checkout happening instantly without ever leaving the app. And shoppers are willing to spend, and that impulse buying is so effective for a very specific reason. It's not just random. TikTok's commerce algorithm is a beast. It analyzes everything you do, every video you like, every product you pause on, and of course, every purchase you make. It uses this data to build an incredibly detailed profile of you, predicting what you'll want to buy next, sometimes before you even know it yourself. The key is that while it feels like magic, it's actually a highly sophisticated system designed to turn your viewing habits directly into sales. A London jewellery brand is set to make over £145,000 through TikTok this year, with its single largest order topping £1,400. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer to this success story. One business consultant calls TikTok Shop a game changer for sales, but warns of a darker side. The quote reveals everything. It can create a race to the bottom on pricing, put pressure on small businesses to produce constant content, and shift the focus from brand building to chasing trends. And the numbers behind that warning are stark. For a small business, the true cost can be brutal. For example, TikTok recently increased its commission fee in the UK from 5% all the way up to 9%. To get a discount, sellers have to complete seller missions, like producing a certain number of videos, which just adds to the pressure. And believe it or not, One study found that nearly half of all stores on TikTok Shop generated 0 sales. So for every viral success story, there are countless others burning out just trying to keep up. So while TikTok is transforming retail and creating massive windfalls, it's also creating a high-pressure new reality. The platform that exploded as a sales engine is now forcing businesses to weigh enormous reach against the relentless cost of chasing the next viral moment. What really brings this to a head on a global scale is that while the US government threatens a ban over security concerns, the UK has largely embraced TikTok's economic activity. Some analysts believe this is a deliberate strategy by TikTok's parent company, ByteDance. By deeply embedding itself into a Western economy, creating jobs, and becoming essential for 200,000 small businesses, it makes a future ban politically and economically much more difficult. The UK's success story becomes a powerful case study for TikTok to show other skeptical nations, creating a kind of economic shield against political attacks. Speaking of high-stakes business models, a tech company is heading for a massive Wall Street debut, but it's already locked in a legal war with a $22 billion rival. The company is Motive, a fleet management software firm, and it just filed to go public on the New York Stock Exchange. But it's facing ongoing patent infringement litigation from its much larger competitor, Samsara, a giant in the industry with a massive market capitalization. A while back, we talked about how in AI, giants win by bundling at scale, the Netscape versus Google lesson. Keep that frame in mind as we map this fight. To understand the stakes, you need to know that both companies are in the world of telematics, which is just a fancy word for using technology to track and manage fleets of vehicles. Think everything from long-haul trucks to delivery vans. The situation presents a fascinating duality. They're playing two different games. Samsara is the established leader, focusing on large enterprise customers with a comprehensive all-in-one platform. The data shows they're succeeding with an annual recurring revenue of over $1.5 billion and an 84% customer satisfaction rate. Motive, on the other hand, is targeting small to medium-sized fleets, betting on user-friendly design and tools that help with legal compliance. It's a classic David versus Goliath, but with different strategies. We previously analysed how bundling can steamroll point solutions, the Netscape versus Google playbook. And in this market, Samsara looks like the bundler, while Motive is pushing a narrower wedge. But if that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. Buried in Motive's public filing is a jaw-dropping number, a $62.7 million net loss in just one quarter. That's on revenue of about $116 million. To put it another way, even as its sales grew 23%, its losses actually got bigger year over year. A few days ago, we noted how 1 week print from a major AI partner sent shockwaves through AI stocks. Investors are jittery, so numbers like these won't get a free pass. That's a head scratcher, because most companies try to shrink their losses as they grow. So the thing is, one of the biggest reasons for this cash burn is a strategic choice that goes against the grain. In an era where tech companies outsource everything, Motive employs 400 full-time in-house data annotators. These are the people who manually review and label the video footage from dash cams to teach the AI what to look for. This is an incredibly expensive way to operate, but Motive is betting that this high-quality, human-powered data will give their AI a critical edge in accuracy. It's a massive gamble on quality over cost. Continuing our last discussion about the $1 trillion AI spending spree, this is Motive's version of CapEx, not data centers, but people-intensive labeling, and the same risk applies. What if demand doesn't scale fast enough to justify the spend? But here is the core of their pitch to investors. In a letter, the CEO claims Motive's AI dashcam technology has already, quote, prevented 170,000 collisions and saved 1,500 lives on our roads, a life-saving mission clashing directly with a money-losing operation. And remember, as we talked about with those 9-figure enterprise AI deals, the end game is turning capability into locked-in predictable revenue. Motive is arguing that safety is the lever that does that. Now, that lives saved number is powerful, but it also raises questions. There are no clear industry standards for how to calculate a prevented collision, which makes it hard for investors to tell the difference between a real safety breakthrough and a savvy marketing figure. And there's another side to this story. The drivers themselves, trucking unions and driver advocacy groups have raised serious privacy concerns about these AI dash cams, which are essentially a form of workplace surveillance. They worry about who is liable when the AI gets it wrong and the constant monitoring's effect on workers. This high-stakes drama is playing out as Motive, which is backed by Google's parent company Alphabet, joins a potential stampede of tech firms like OpenAI and SpaceX, reportedly eyeing a 2026 public offering. We mentioned a while back that investor sentiment around AI is both euphoric and fragile. Oracle's stumble was a reminder, so this wave could be powerful but choppy. Ultimately, the timing of this IPO is critical. Motive is going public now with widening losses in a market that's incredibly hot for anything labeled AI, but very skeptical of unprofitable software companies. This IPO is both a strategic move to capitalize on the AI hype and a defensive necessity. They need to raise a war chest of cash to continue their expensive data strategy and fight their much larger and very profitable competitor, Samsara. And as we've discussed before, if AI demand undershoots the spending frenzy, the window for stories like this can close fast. So what we have is a company burning through cash and battling a titan in court, all while claiming its technology is a force for good. Now, it's asking Wall Street to bet on its future, or, to borrow our earlier frame, is Motive the platform that bundles, or the brilliant challenger that gets bundled around? We were just talking about the high-stakes world of fleet hardware and AI. Now, let's shift our focus to the bleeding edge of consumer hardware. The most unexpected news in the hardware world today has to be a single number from Samsung, 1,040. That's not a price tag. It's the refresh rate in hertz of its new Odyssey G6G 60H gaming monitor. The company is calling it the world's first 1,040 hertz gaming display, a speed that pushes the boundaries of what was thought possible for responsive gaming. Now, this number is both incredible and actually a little bit controversial. The truth is, we're hitting a point of diminishing returns. While the average human eye sees smooth motion at around 60 to 90 hertz, some studies show that under very specific conditions, we can detect flicker at rates up to 500 hertz. So, who is this for? The real benefit, and it's a marginal one, is for professional esports athletes, where even a millisecond of improved motion clarity could make a difference. For most of us, the leap from, say, 240 hertz to over 1,000 is almost impossible to perceive. Now, there is a catch. That record-breaking speed is achieved in HD resolution. But even in its native 1440p, the monitor runs at a blistering 600 hertz, a number that still leaves most of the competition in the dust, but a record-shattering refresh rate is only half the story. The real bombshell from Samsung's 2026 lineup might be the Odyssey 3DG 90XH. This is a 32-inch 6K resolution monster with a feature that many thought was long gone. 3D, except this time it's glasses free. The monitor uses real-time eye tracking technology to adjust the depth and perspective of the image based on your position, creating a 3D effect without any extra hardware. Here's where it gets interesting, because we've all seen 3D fads come and go, right? Think of those clunky 3D glasses for TVs, or even NVIDIA's 3D vision. They failed because they were uncomfortable and there wasn't enough content. What Samsung is doing here is different. It's using what's called an auto-stereoscopic display. The way it works is that the built-in eye-tracking camera follows your gaze in real time, and the monitor constantly recalculates and projects two slightly different images directly to your left and right eyes. This creates a natural 3D effect without the headaches or glasses, solving the biggest problems that killed 3D in the past. While other companies like Dell, LG, and Asus have released 6K displays, none have combined it with this kind of immersive, glasses-free 3D technology aimed squarely at gamers. When we place that 6K resolution alongside today's top graphics cards, a contradiction becomes clear. Right now, even the most powerful graphics cards on the planet struggle to run the latest games at 4K with high frame rates, so why release a 6K monitor? Samsung is playing the long game. They are building hardware for the graphics cards of tomorrow, betting that in 2 or 3 years, GPUs will be powerful enough to make 6K gaming a reality. This is a classic future-proofing strategy aimed at early adopters who want to be ready for the next wave of performance. This isn't just a tech demo. A growing list of major titles, including Time's Black Myth, Wukong Asterisk, Hogwarts Legacy Asterisk, and Time's Palworld Asterisk, will support the 3D effects, signaling a serious push behind the technology. Samsung hasn't revealed the official price for these next-generation monitors, but for context, the company's previous smaller 4K 3D screen already carried a $2,000 price tag. What we're seeing from Samsung is a clear sign of a maturing market. Instead of one size fits all, they're creating hyper-specialized Halo products. One monitor is for pure, unadulterated esports speed, and the other is for deep, immersive single-player experiences. This splintering of the high-end market shows just how diverse the world of PC gaming has become.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.